floor.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being so patient with me. Sorry, I was a little bit late because I have a commitment to look after myself. You know, it's very important that we take care of our own well-being. So I do yoga every week, and I'm very religious about it. I'm not very religious about many things, but so thank you for your patience, because it was important for me, you know, to take care of myself. And I think that's important, because one of the things that I realized that was so frightening about human rights generally in the world when I was an MEP for 6.5 years was that we were often defending human rights defenders. So around the world, repressive regimes, you know, particularly from nationalist perspectives, populists, were attacking human rights defenders, which is why Amnesty, people who work for Amnesty were taken and imprisoned, detained in Turkey, for example, but in other places too. And we hear now that, you know, when Amnesty raises its voices, I mean, it's an international organization with an incredible track record. But we hear now how governments don't like the evidence that Amnesty puts forward, very well-researched evidence, you know, first-hand experiences of torture and all kinds of violations. So taking care of ourselves is important. Now, today's a very serious day, isn't it? It's a very serious and sad day for many of us, and it's important that we keep alive the memory of the people who lost their lives 30 years ago in the bazaar, who were just going about their business, shopkeepers, people visiting other people, traders, women just going out to buy goods, people just having, just stopping for a coffee or a drink or something, you know, just to pass the time of day. And the kind of attack on ordinary, everyday civil society is really horrendous. And I was thinking, you know, this is what happened. It's very similar to what happened in the Arndale Centre in Manchester, which is a big shopping centre in the city that I used to represent. You know, there was an attack on ordinary people just going about their business. Similarly, in Nairobi, in Kenya, you know, an attack in a shopping mall. So I mean, the conflict itself is horrendous and affects many, many people. But the behavior of paramilitaries to just let rip in that way with, you know, no warnings, just to take a gun and to shoot indiscriminately at women and children, young people, is really, really shameful. It's horrific. It doesn't bear thinking about. And yes, it is a massacre. It was a massacre. We have to call it what it was. We have to remember it. And that is because the survivors cannot find peace, and there is no peace without justice, and the cases remain open. So we must continue to respect and give a platform to this terrible, terrible anniversary. Now, I just want to say something about the Indian government, because I don't have a quarrel with the Indian people. In many situations, minorities in India, lower caste people, bonded laborers, they're also on the receiving end of the most horrendous right-wing populist government who doesn't care about the well-being of its citizens. And I just want us to be very clear that our argument, our disagreement is with the government. And we should be standing in solidarity with the oppressed peoples of India too. We should be standing in solidarity with the oppressed people in Palestine and oppressed peoples around the world. And we should be learning from other struggles too. It's always concerned me that the situation in Jammu and Kashmir does not make the front pages. It doesn't make the headlines. It's not talked about in universities, in student unions, in debating groups, you know, in when there are discussions and conferences about peace and conflict and minorities. This is not there. It's not a subject. People don't understand. And it's been buried by a whole load of governments and international media corporations, you know, who seem only to want to present a different kind of news. So we have to have alternatives. Thank goodness there are amazing journalists, media organizations reporting on the truth. Thank goodness. And let's keep supporting them and keep telling the truth. And sure, we have to do that outside of the occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but we will keep doing it. COVID has been a very useful cover and distraction, hasn't it? It's meant that people have been so concerned about their health and well-being and that of their family and friends and their businesses that people have taken their eyes off other ongoing intractable problems, particularly issues around conflict. And it was very useful initially for the BJP government to have COVID in its country, because they could then use that as an excuse for continuing what they had already been doing, which is to shut down society behind the line of occupation. And but it's come back to bite them, hasn't it? COVID has come back to bite them. The record that India has now for the highest deaths in the world is not something that they should be proud of. So I do think that we've still got a huge issue in trying to cut through with the media. That's going to continue, but that doesn't mean we are quiet, we are silent. We find every opportunity that we can to speak about the continuing violations, and we use all the anniversaries, the terrible, sad anniversaries of the violations and the historical anniversaries. We use all those moments really to try and shine a light on what is happening now. Now, in Cornwall, here in the UK, the G7 are meeting. Boris Johnson will be there, and he's hoping to get some trade deals because, of course, he got Brexit done, didn't he? And he got Brexit done, and he promised that the UK would be, you know, a global world leader, and that we'd have unfettered trade with all kinds of different countries and regimes. But I can tell you that in the European Parliament, in the autumn of 2020, we voted through a resolution to support the United Nations binding mechanism on human rights in trade agreements. And Boris Johnson and people like him don't want that. They want trade at any price, at any cost. And India was supposed to be the prize, the jewel, along with the US. And it greatly concerns me that we are lowering our standards here in the UK regarding environmental and animal health and welfare. But I also am very concerned that we are going to be ripping up human rights in order for this current government to look good and to deliver on its promises. And I think we've got to keep talking about the importance of human rights being unconditional and universal. And that means that our government here in the UK should not be making any trade deal with India while the conflict is unresolved. And it's not just a matter for India and Pakistan. This is a matter for the world. We've got two nuclear armed states who are in disagreement with each other, and we have got the most militarized border in the world, and we have hundreds of thousands of people who have been affected in one way or another directly by being attacked, such as the children with pellet guns, or like the half-widows who do not know where their menfolk are. And there are hundreds of cases of disappeared people, and some of those graves have been found and some have not. So I am going to keep an eye on what my government is doing, and I will continue to speak out about the situation that I know which has got worse, not better, under COVID, and which has become almost invisible to people at a global level. But we won't let that happen. We know the truth, and the truth, I'm proud to be a truth teller, actually. You know, when I was elected, I had to think about, how am I going to do my job? I'm going to be a voice for people who don't have a voice, and I will be a truth teller. And lots of people don't like that. But actually, I wasn't in politics to be liked. I was in politics to stand up for the truth and to be a platform for people who didn't have a voice. So thank you for asking me yet again to be here. I learn every time I come to your conferences. I learn more about the history that I was never told as a young person. Thank you.
Thank you.